Here we are. Wednesday, last day of January 2024. I think I finally stopped writing 2023 as of a couple of days ago by accident. Welcome, everybody, to the theC47 channel. My name is Jem Schofield, and this is the weekly live stream. Now, of course, next week, if you are a regular to this channel, we are going to be doing our first Wednesday of every month, Camera Flask, myself, Ben Barden, and Caleb Pike. I've got to actually remember to check in with those gentlemen about that. Hopefully I muted my phone. We'll see what happens in the next hour. I might have to run over there and turn that off. But good to see you, Thaddeus. Oh no, Brandon. Brandon, you're killing me. You got to send me the pictures before the episode. It's not a good thing for me to do it right during. It's then I have dings and I'm downloading. I know you're trying to keep me on my toes here, but I'm doing post right now, so I'm definitely on my toes anyway. So let me just see. You're killing me, kid. You're killing me. Let me see. Boom. No, I don't want that scene. I don't want a scene to load up or any of this weird stuff. It can actually mess this week's project. Oh, you're killing me. You are killing me. Oh boy. Wait a minute. You didn't even turn them. Oh, okay. I see. Here's the image. I'm going to go to a new scene. There might be something on it though. Everybody get ready. Jeff, good to have you here. Thank you for stopping by. 350 said you're killing me. Hey, David. Let's see what happens. We'll see how good this thing behaves itself. It's interesting because I think I can drag it right on top. Yeah, I can actually. So we'll do that. And then I'll go back to the other one. It's like I'm creating the scene live. What are you trying to do to me here? And then I have to create another one. What's the second one? Tell me, Brandon. Tell me what's happening here. Here we go. This one I'm just going to do like it's on the side here. All right, tell me what we're seeing, kid. All right, here we go. This is Brandon's. Sir, we're shooting here. Shooting at a 1.8. Relying upon that Sony stuff. A 60th of a second. A flicker. I'm interested to know. Vertical video. So this is definitely for the socials platform. And kind of a butterfly style lighting setup, I would say. From above, slightly in front. Get that little butterfly shadow. Got a little, I think, I'm looking over here at the kicker. Like a little separation. Is that a light? No, that might be a power. Talk us through it, kid. For Instagram. Got it. Yeah. Well, what else you got to tell us, Brandon? I did the work here. Is that a couple of tubes behind talent? I'm going to go to my next scene here and we can kind of get an idea. Yep, those are tubes. The dude hanging there. Interested to hear why light placement where you have it, if this is talent, because I'm asking based on where the key light position is. Yeah, I'm interested to hear about that. And then it seems like there's a lot of ambient light in the space where that exit sign is and stuff. But you tell me the deal and we can talk about it. And I can go back to those now if you need me to. So wasn't too bad. Looks like the eCam is when I'm creating a new scene, allowing me to basically just grab those stills. But it would be great if you can send it to me a little earlier in the day. Happy to do this kind of stuff. On the weekly live stream. I just need a little bit more of a heads up. I'd like to kind of set stuff up and then have it there ready to go. So you're saying it was hard to make the background totally dark. So did that mean, Brandon, that that was the decision to have a couple of those tube lights to say, I can't get the background to be totally dark, so I'm going to add that and have those in the frame? Or what was the thought process there? Like to hear about that. We're ready to go. As always, everybody who comes to the weekly live stream, the question I have is, what questions do you have? So, and at theC47, I can move this. I actually just shot an episode of the Daily Drop, so that's why this FX30 is here. But just put in at theC47 and we start to get going. If you were here last week, you'll know that it got pretty lively. We had some people drop in, some heavy hitters, and we kind of just got into a role where it was just a continuous conversation about all kinds of different things. So people were just firing off stuff. We're talking about cameras, we're talking about lenses, we were talking about lights, we were talking about food. Um, let's make this about what you want to talk about. That's a lot of abouts, and let's get to it. And I'm waiting. So somebody, and at theC47. I am, while I'm waiting for that and looking over at the comments and reactions, deep into post to finish up this Steadicam arm video. This is for the upcoming release of the G70X2 arm, which is, this is high-end gear. This is for career Steadicam operators, and the video was really um, an overview of a lot of the new features of this Gen 2 version of this arm for Steadicam. So it's not the entire system, it's focused on the arm. You still have a vest, you still have a sled, and all of those good things. Yeah. Brandon says, I am not the talent. Yes, overhead, Godox 150 with tube lights behind. Just wanted dark abyss behind with subject dimly lit and bathed in color. Feel free to pick. No. So where are those tubes in relationship to talent when we're looking at those? Let me just boom over here. They look like they're still behind talent, so they are close to the background. So it's just sort of more ambience than anything else. And then you have it looks like a strip box. I don't know if that's on or not. That's in the far uh, side of the wall over there. So give me some stuff on that. We're not gonna. Well, Pat's not here. Oh no, so we're not gonna talk about Bayer aspirin to stave off heart palpitations again. Which I wasn't having heart palpitations. This is like week 3 of the stroke conversation, which is a horrible thing to talk about, but it's ridiculous. So that's the end of that conversation until Pat comes in with some nonsense. Um, Thaddeus says my copy of Exposure showed up the other day, started reading it, really liked the format. Yeah, it's a great book. Somebody else actually posted something today about getting their book. I just think it's just really, really well done. It's a perfect example of where you're taking the basics of a subject matter, infographic style, and really just making it very understandable. And I love books like that because I call them fill in the blank books, because none of us know everything. In fact, I'm reminded every single day how little I still know when it comes to all of this tech and craft of video production, filmmaking, etc. It's just I see one thing and I'm like, I know nothing. So, it's a constant learning process for me at least. And again, that's why I love being in what I'm doing here. Um, so any more info would be great. Looks like Brandon is relying upon that AF in that Sony camera at a 1.8, down to 200 ISO, and see what else I can glean here. Auto white balance. Interested in that. That can be problematic. Maybe not in this shoot where you have a single talent, but any change in the environment, even things moving around, shadows, this and that, and especially if different talent comes in, that can be, a big problem when you're using auto white balance. And I've used it. Sometimes when I'm shooting B-roll and I'm just running around and I'm trying to get from one place to the other, I will turn it on. But in an interview situation, try to lock it in to at least your key um, light color temperature. I don't know. And then, it can get all wonky because you've got those two colored tubes in frame. And so if you go auto white balance and something like that, then all hell can break loose. It gets weird. So just maybe lock in a Kelvin temperature would be my only piece of advice, or a preset. Go with daylight or tungsten. Um, Especially when you're starting to get into, scenarios where you're seeing lots of different colors in the frame and stuff like that. It can get functified. Now, you have enough information probably in your captured image that you'll be able to tweak, but it just means more work for you. Um, yeah. So there you go. What else? What else are we talking about regarding this? If you want any feedback, if you want to talk out ways that you could have done things differently, you don't have a lot of distance to talent, which is obviously going to be part of the challenge of letting that background fall to black. The key light probably needs to be skirted a little bit more to help with that as well. Or maybe a slightly different lighting style, like a split key. So you're coming from the side through a grid, and then you can keep a lot of that light off of the background. The other thing is, I don't know if you have them in your kit, Brandon, but having a floppy cutter can make all the difference in the world. And in fact, I was not looking for a dark background in the Steadicam shoot that I just did, but that 4x floppy really saved the day when it came to how much spill was falling on that background, not in the way that I wanted to, and I was able to block that light from continuing on. Obviously, soft boxes and grids can be great at doing that as well, but as soon as you put a couple of tube lights near that background, unless they have grids on them to help with the spill, or you're doing something else, especially when they're in frame, then you're going to have a problem with that unless there's distance between those tubes and the background. And, it's, in my opinion, not extremely desirable to have a completely black background unless you really want that really, really, specific look and feel. Um, and it can be tough here if I'm looking, if this is this Final Talent or is this you? This is you, right? I don't, just tell me. Um, but what was Talent wearing? Because contrast in clothing to environment is also a big one. As far as, maybe if you want your background to fall to black, then you're either gonna, if you really want to go dark all around, then you really have to figure out that separation between the talent and the background. But I think the tube lights and the overhead sort of butterfly light aren't helping in terms of being able to. Very funny. I can see it's you, but I, in terms of that not falling on the background, that light. Another nice look is to go with a neutral gray and then sort of let it fall off. And then you can uplight or let those two tubes kind of do some stuff there. If they're wearing all black, then yeah, you really have, it looks like you've got pretty good separation there though for the talent. So I think you've done that. It's just making that background read that way and flagging some of that light off of the background and the grid would help a lot. Yeah. All right. There we go. What do we got next? Let's get into some more conversations. We got another 45 minutes if you want it. And then I'm jumping back into post. I've got to edit the daily drop I just did, and I have to do all my B-roll pics for the Steadicam project, and I've got to shoot at least one vertical social to promote the episode that dropped today, because I think it has good educational value, the one that breaks down the project I just did in LA. If you have any more questions about that too, I probably won't shoot another episode on that production. So if you want to ask any questions and you've watched today's episode, feel free to fire away, and I'm happy to answer anything that you have related to that. Let's go. What you got? All right. Just hearing dogs barking in the background. Crazy. All right. I'm ready for you, kids, but it's silent over there. There's enough people here with the one thumbs up and everything. That's funny, Brandon. That, you know, I think we can get another question in here. We can start another conversation. I don't know what was going on last week. Maybe it was a unicorn episode, but that is exactly how I would like live streams to go. I'd like it to just sort of go. It's like a roller coaster. What's that roller coaster that used to be at Disney? The one that has Aerosmith singing the whole time. It was at MGM. I can't remember what it was called. But it's like the thing starts and it just goes, and it's fast from the beginning all the way to the end. And David has a question that I missed. I'm sorry, David. Here we go. It's cooking. I'm excited. Just got a new 14-inch all-clad wok and a Breville Smart toaster oven. What comes to mind using them both together for a first-time meal? That's a good question. Breville Smart Oven, toaster oven, and an all-clad wok. You know, we always think if you go, you think Asian, of course, with a wok, but there's a lot of other things you can cook inside of a wok. But I'm trying to think of something smart. How big is that smart toaster oven? And kind of what's the sell point on that? Because there's some thoughts going through my mind. There are some thoughts going through my mind, but I also don't know. Like, are you a vegetarian? I don't think you are, David. And what types of foods are you comfortable making? Because I'm thinking, fried rice in the wok. Deep frying in the wok is great too, 100%. I thought you said pasties for a second. Cornish pasties are delicious. You've been tasting. Oh, product development. I'm feeling full because I've been tasting. What's that for? Oh no. Is that tied in with your coffee stuff? The book that we mentioned was one that I did, Ben, an episode on, which is called Exposure. It's an infographic book on photography. It has a little bit of information that relates to capturing moving image as well, but it's really about how a camera works. Hold on. I think I have it around. Hold on. There's usually one particular part of one particular shelf that I put things in after I've done an episode, so it's still there. So this is the book, and it's a great book. So you can go back. I think it was about a week ago I did that episode. Kind of a blur with that production I just did. Awesome on opening the new coffee place, Sully. Good to have you here. We're open for questions right now. So the toaster oven has an 11-inch, okay, so just under a foot cooking area, medium size. You're not a vegetarian. Well, let me ask you this question, David, as we're kind of going down this path in different areas. What kinds of foods do you like? Because, buying a wok besides the deep frying option is really usually taking people down an Asian path. But I'd like to hear that. Thank you, Bill, on the hoodie. Yeah, I've had these for a long time. The place that made them is now out of business since the pandemic. And this thing is held up incredibly well. It's a little more faded now than it is. I made a few of them. I'm going to try to find a place that makes these again to this quality, because whatever this transfer is they did and everything, this thing has lasted for years. So I'm very happy with this. And I tried to do something last year before NAB or Cine Gear, it was not successful. So I'm ready to, find a new vendor for some, I didn't call it merch, but whatever. Um, so give me some information on that, David. I'm ready to continue this cooking conversation. Everybody else can chime in. David says, been pondering a couple of those Zhiyun X100, the Molus X100 lights to always have a basic kit on my backpack. Have you been using yours and any updates after some time using them? Um, Funnily enough, David, and this just is by chance because, I live in a very strange workshop here. I happen to have the X100 right here. I'll give you a couple of pieces of feedback. First of all, I think it's a wonderful little light. I think it's kind of a little bit of a marvel here. I have a cold shoe on here and, like a male cold shoe attachment. And when I tightened that down, the outside housing bent just a little. I think I over tightened it, but it has not been a problem in terms of usability. It's incredibly quiet. I think that I also have it here because I was having a conversation with somebody about it recently. This battery thing is a piece of garbage. So you not only can't run the thing at full output with it, this battery lasted for no time at all and then stopped working. I'm not going to say lazy, but I haven't sent it in to get repaired, and I'm probably getting close to the time where I can't. But for a couple of $100 US, I say they're fantastic. Now, they're only 100 watts, so they're not going to deal with every scenario. I definitely get it with the larger dome as an option. Hold on, I'm going to grab some stuff. I'm still here, kids. They have a small dome, and then they have this, which is a larger dome with the diffuser. And I find this to be very, very useful. They're both actually useful, the small and the large. I wish they had a little Fresnel lens for this thing. I don't think they have one yet. But the short answer is I think it makes a lot of sense to have at least one of these little lights in your kit. You probably should get like an Anker power delivery battery. I've done a lot of episodes related to that. And make sure you get a cable that's power delivery that can actually carry the 100 watts. So I don't know if I build an entire lighting kit out of the Molus X100. I don't use the 60, the little cube one, very much that I got. And I definitely lean towards this profile, this sort of cell phone, smartphone profile. It's an awesome little light. Wish it had plus minus green, but it does the job. It's bright, it's small, it can be power delivery, powered. Don't get the battery, don't get the little softbox thing. Definitely consider getting the little domes, small and large, with the little diffusers. And there you go. Yeah, that's what I got for you. So, yeah, that's what I got for you. I think you're thinking about some open face stuff in that toaster oven is what I'd be thinking about. Um, you have to think about a toaster oven and that smart toaster oven for making things that you wouldn't necessarily make in a larger oven, or you don't need that physical size for that. So you've got to figure out what those things are. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer for things that are, kind of going down that Mexican route, tostada and, like refried beans cooked down with some, really nice cheese, and you melt that on there. And you got to start thinking about using it for stuff like that, I think. Um, Welsh rarebit might be a good one. It's kind of like an, open face kind of cheese, uh, grilled cheesy kind of thing. And then the wok, I mean, if you're using them together, again, you've got to think about that. Because, when I think about dumplings and stuff, those are usually going to get boiled and then eaten that way, or steamed, sorry. And then they're going to get usually pan fried, which would go into the wok. And I don't know. Um, yeah. Okay. What do we got? More questions. I'm ready. We got one food, one lighting, and let's get this thing moving at a different pace here. We're about halfway through. I feel like we're going at about a quarter speed of last week, which is okay. It's okay if the live stream isn't always a rocket ship, but it is nice when we start to get into a rhythm and we start to riff on stuff and people are giving their feedback inside of the live stream as well. The line's been drawn in the sand now on this channel. So, in the old days, if you call them that, or the middle days, I was really struggling with this idea of, should I shoot live streams and then re-edit them and then put them out as recorded content? That's all done now. We know that the Daily Drop is the recorded series 5 days a week, and this is for questions. This is for interaction. This is the time to do that kind of stuff. I don't need to go back to Bayer. I'm ready to go. Oh no. It's not me. I just need people to wake up. Maybe everybody else needs a little shot of Brandon's caffeinated delights to get them to do this stuff. I do not, Ben, use the 3D plugin for Satellite. It's not something that I have explored really. I know that you can go to different libraries and bring objects in. It hasn't really been a thing for me. I guess if I wanted to extend the set components, the props and things like that, that might be where I would do that. I do know they're working on Satellite 3.0. I have no idea when it's going to come out. So, there you go. Sully's asking, do I have any equipment with Miller mounts, i.e. tripods? The answer is 1,000,000% yes. Miller fluid heads are my personal favorite. I don't have $10,000 heads, but I have one, two, three, four Miller systems. I have a CX 8. I have a 10. I think I have a 16. I have a lot of Miller stuff, and I have a DS10 as well, which I love. I've always loved that little system, even though it's not as tunable for balancing. And in fact, Sully, if you go back a few weeks, um, maybe it's a month and a half back, I have an episode on the Daily Drop playlist called Balance That Sucker, I believe is what the title is. And that's talking about balancing a camera system. I was using a C200 at that time on a fluid head. And that's a Miller head. So look, I love Miller's stuff. There's a lot of other great stuff out there in terms of Cartoni and other stuff on the market. Sockler's got some great heads as well, but sticks are a whole other thing. I do like Miller sticks, but I think that the rapid deployment sticks from Sockler are pretty awesome. And there you go. If you want any more information on that, Sully, please just do a follow up to your question right now in the stream, and I'm happy to answer it. But the tunability of the Miller heads is pretty fantastic. I've got 16 steps, sort of 0 and then 15 additional steps to balance a camera system on there. So it's really great. I do use a monopod sometimes. My favorite one is from Suray. I just really like the way the little feet come out of it and how it functions. And I'm using on there usually, what's the little, hold on, I might have it. No, do I have it down? Hold on. No, I don't have it right here. I think it's the Suray actually fluid head, but it might not be. So there you go. And Sockler legs and Miller head. Colin, I'm with you. And you're an Aussie, so you're representing not the Sockler part, but the Miller fluid head. I'd be interested to see which one you have. Um, David, thank you so much for the kind words on the episode. Uh, I needed a hospital gurney, so I just used a bed and squished it. Wait, what is that from? Wait, what's that a follow up to? Hold on. I'm not tracking here. Oh, I needed Oh, in Satellite, Ben. Sorry. It took me a second. I thought we were going in another direction. I'm reading crap about Bayer aspirin, and then I see Hospital Gurney. Thanks a lot. This is like a recurring thing. If that replaces the mannequin thing, then I'm all for it. Whatever. Okay. I'm going to go back just a little so I don't miss anything. So just give me a second, kids. Now things are happening. I like this. And Thaddeus says, anyone else see Red's announcement of a new camera? Really, two versions of a camera. And the big news in those cameras is global shutter, which really will help in uh, definitely certain production situations. And of course, for things like rolling shutter, which is, sort of a whole different thing. But also, I think it's going to be great for virtual production with Genlock and all that kind of stuff. But they're not cheap, but they look pretty cool. And Burano's coming out in a few days from Sony. I think that's kind of interesting. Ono says, I'm interested to know how the daily drop is affecting the channel. More subs, more watch time. Yes to both. Definitely the channel's growing. The first 1.5 to 2 months was sort of the channel's producing content on a regular basis now, and people would come back, check it out, and you would see sort of like an increase in subs and then a lowering of subs, and then it would like go like this, and then it would be this. And it was people figuring out whether or not the content that the channel is putting out, that I'm putting out, is interesting to them. And then at about a 1.5 month going into a 2 month place, um it's pretty consistently just going up and up and up. So in huge jumps, no, but there are times where I'll do an episode and it will bring a lot of viewers, and then I'll see subscribers going up. But just frame of reference, back in August, about 9,500 subscribers or so, I believe, and now very close to 11,000. So in a relatively short period of time, good growth. And to go from 10,000 to 11 has been so much faster than going from 9 to 10,000. And it's working in other ways too. It's, the engagement, the community, and also, it's never hurt my brand as the C47, which, I realized at a certain point, because I used to have a separate company that was for the production and post-production side of things, and then the other one, the C47, this right here, the educational brand. And I realized that this is the brand that everybody knew, so I basically decided, especially when I made the move out west, that those things were going to become one and the same, and I don't regret that decision. So, yes, the answer is it's been good, and I'm happy, and I think I've said this in the past, but the daily drop and what I'm doing here on the channel is not there to fill time. I mean, it certainly helped in the second half of 2023, but it is a part of the business plan. It's part of the company. It's part of what I'm doing as the C47, and it fits well into that. So, the short to long term goal is to bring in more relationships with sponsorships with manufacturers so that I can expose everybody to more stuff. But the one thing that I want everybody to understand is the purpose of the channel is not to be a review site channel. It's always with the purpose of real world application, education, so on and so forth. There you go. All right. David says, actually, just one more question. In what situation or why do you always also recommend those domes for the Molus X100? I thought they were kind of a gimmick like the tiny softbox. Well, they're not, because you know, if you've got a naked, COB, it's just spreading light everywhere. And that's kind of great if you're just pushing it through a big modifier, a 6x6 or something like that. But there's a lot of spread. And the first thing that the smaller reflector or the larger will do is flag light from going everywhere and direct it into a particular direction. The dome diffuser, and I've talked about dome diffusers on things like this EPOS 300 from Kelvin as well, is going to create even light that is diffused in all directions. So if you're bouncing that light into an umbrella, for instance, or just recently, if you watched today's episode, David, of the Daily Drop, the one on the Steadicam behind the scenes production, you'll see that what I did is, hold on. I had the 60C light from Nanlite, and I used the FL11 Fresnel, which is this Fresnel attachment for that 60-watt COB light. But even though I had this fully flooded, so I had it, hold on. All right, kids, it's a live stream, you know. That's just the way it is. So I had it, you have it fully flooded. So on this, I think it's about 45-degree angle. It was just too harsh in terms of that separation. So, like, for instance, right now, this kicker is a P360 Pro from Felix. I don't know if they still make that. It's in a little soft box to soften up this little kick light that's right here. So I didn't have a softbox for the P60. So what I did is I basically tucked the dome diffuser inside of there, and that softened up the light that was going onto Talent. The barn doors helped to make it a little more directional. Hold on. All this crap is at arm's length, reach, whatever, within arm's reach, because I finished this job, flew back on Sunday, and I've just been in post, so I kind of have all the cases right here on my left. All right, we're back. Time to scroll again. Sockler Flowtech, yep, amazing legs with the CX6, great head. The gurney, oh, wait, just remember us. Give me a break. Brandon, I think this channel is gonna grow organically. Okay. It's be great if they gets really, big to a degree, but not interested in reviews. It's just not the content. I've done this before. I did this and, consistently for 2.5 years with Gearbox. And then about that point, I did burn out, and I didn't know where I wanted to take it, but it's definitely different right now. I always say, and I'm going to continue to say this, I don't know how long the Daily Drop lasts, but right now it's part of the business plan. I like what I'm doing. I am doing what I want to do. And as the channel grows, it's about collaboration if I have sponsors, but it's not about reviews. It's more about how to expose viewers to different workflows and things like that. And when you start to get into things like virtual production and some of these other areas, that's extremely hard to do by, just having some stuff sent from B&H and from and me buying stuff on Amazon. I mean, that's really the secret here is like how much crap I buy on Amazon to create sometimes ideas that I have for shows and for episodes and stuff. But what are you going to do? All right, let's get back into this. I see your comment about Gerald and Caleb. Understood. Oh no. Some guy is selling a few Mole Richardson Fresnels in my area, a Facebook market for $150. I've been tempted to get them. Yeah, I mean, hot lights are great. The quality of light is great. If you can get the bulbs easily, then, maybe go for it. I still have some stuff. I have, I have a lot of older Lowell stuff, and every time I turn that Omni light on, that 500 watt, looks fantastic, but it gets hot and, it's not color tunable and all of that stuff. So there we go. All right. Let's get down to the next thing, and I'll get to you in a minute, Sully. Camera question: is upgrading to C200 from C100 a short-term solution for a long-term issue? My answer is yes at this point. If you were upgrading to a C3, a C70, or let's just say C70 because that's the logical one. If you're upgrading to a C70 from a C100, not so much short-term solution. C200 is a great camera. I did the whole training series for Canon on it. It's a camera that's been out for a long time. And that particular sensor, while fantastic and really good with color, and it has a lot of great features as a camera, looking at it somewhere over here, it's a little soft, and when the C300 Mark III came out, it was a big jump in terms of sharpness when it came to the captured image, C500 Mark II, and of course the C70. So, if you're staying within the Canon family, that's sort of what I would be looking at. I wouldn't be looking at the C200 personally at this point in time. I'd definitely be looking at a C70 at the minimum. FX3 is great, but you have to understand that the caveat to that camera, besides the fact that it doesn't have built-in ND, doesn't have built-in XLRs, and the normal stuff that you'll be getting from a digital cinema camera, is the megapixel count on that camera doesn't allow you to, it allows you to shoot 4K at full frame, but when you want to crop and go to Super 35, you have to shoot in HD. And to me, that's a big downside to the FX3. The FX30 has the same issue, whereas the A7C2, which is right there, has a much higher megapixel count. So I can go between full frame and super 35 millimeter crop, and I can keep that resolution of the captured image. So hopefully Gen 2s of FX30, FX3 will have higher megapixels, because, they've kind of figured out the high megapixel, low light combination at Sony anyway. Um, uh, so it you really have to start making decisions about stuff. Now, you're talking about C200, C100, C70 without the booster. Those are all crop sensor cameras, if you want to call them that. So FX3 is full frame. So you're kind of talking apples and oranges to a certain degree. I would, if you're willing to deal with I've got to deal with audio a certain way, whether that's an audio adapter for a Sony camera through, the multi purpose shoe or something like that, then maybe you start looking at FX30s, because they're great, and they're inexpensive considering. So to go into two of those with, some lenses is definitely going to be more cost effective, but it's not your only options. R5C is not as inexpensive as this. It's more in that FX3 realm, but the difference is it is truly a hybrid camera and has two bootable menu systems. So you go into that camera and you're shooting stills, and it's really a flagship mirrorless stills camera. You boot it up into video, and it's using the same menu system as the other Cinema EOS cameras from Canon. And you've got 8K capture as an option. You can go all the way down to crop, and it's just such a versatile mirrorless camera system. But you're still dealing with the same crap that you have to deal with when it comes to, these camera bodies, FX30, FX3, in terms of ND, missing XLR inputs. So you have to augment the camera system with those things, which is a plus and a minus. I mean, small form factor can be incredibly advantageous. Yes, C70 is definitely RF mount, and that's a whole different thing. But it's a lot easier to adapt to EF, and you get some advantages to that as well. And yeah, there you go. So your 17 to 55 can be used, but you'll need an EF adapter. And I would probably, yeah, You get the idea. So 17 to 55 is a nice sharp little lens. It's not an L glass lens, but it's pretty sharp. My buddy Matt Porwall has shot a lot of stuff. I think he shot a lot of Cartel Land actually on that 17 to 55 on the C300 Mark II, I believe, for that film. Um, all right, Sully, have I ever considered using a high key background so we can see the gear? Yes, I do at times. It's not a look that I love, and I am aware that sometimes when you have gear that it's a lot easier to see it with that contrast. I do have the other set over there, and I've done some things over there with a more sort of neutral gray background, stormy gray background where you can see the product. It's also a lot to do with having multiple cameras. So you'll have seen probably, maybe not, some episodes where I have an overhead camera, which is showing what's down here on the table. And I like to do that. And sometimes I like to set up a camera just so I have a close up shot of stuff. And the contrast is with the wooden table or whatever that table is that I'm using. So it just depends. It also has to do with time sometimes, it tends to go in sort of cycles, or in, there's certain days of the week where I can spend more time on an episode and break things down more, or just in post do more, or in production I can do more, or combinations, and then other times where I have to do it to camera. So like yesterday, pardon me, I had shot all of that content for the behind the scenes of what I did on the weekend down in LA. Um, that episode didn't just get edited in 10-15 minutes. It was sort of like looking for all the right shots, and I didn't have as much B-roll as I wanted, because I snuck that in. I wouldn't say snuck it in. I mean, I asked the client if I could, post the episode, and they're well aware of what I do with the daily series and everything else. But there's a lot of times, and I've spoken about this in the past, where I feel very uncomfortable creating something for my channel or for social when I'm doing a client job. That was a little bit different because I came in on Friday. We did a pre-light all day Friday, and or most of Friday, like from just before lunchtime till about 6. And then when we came in with an early call in the morning, it was really just sort of to dial everything in. So what I did is I turned on all of the lights, I set everything up and made sure it was ready to go. Our talent, Tyson, was getting ready and stuff. And I thought, okay, this is the time. I just, shot a little B-roll. I turned on, I did that in one take. I just sort of, called out all of the things and made sure I had at least enough visual to give you a sense of what it was that was going on in that space. Um, but I can't do that every time. All right, see, now we're moving along. About 12 minutes left, and people are asking questions. They're making comments. This is the difference. The last 20 minutes of this live stream has felt like 5 minutes compared to the first 30 minutes, which felt like 45 minutes, But now, what's going on, kids? Let's go. I'm ready. What's the next question? I know David's still thinking about how the hell he's going to use that wok and that toaster oven together. Maybe we need to separate, divide and conquer. There's so many great things you can make in a wok, and there's so many good things you can make in a toaster oven. But, it's a Honey I Shrunk the Oven is what and I want to know what makes it smart. Is it like you can stick crap in there and it just senses what it is? Oh, it's a potato. I'll cook this for a certain amount of time. Or is it something else? What's going on with this Breville that makes it so special? What was the thing, David, that got you to buy it? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. Come on, give me some information. All right, I'm looking back. Come on, David Carroll. Anything else? Oh, well, I missed one here. I'm scrolling back. Anyone try Starbucks olive oil infused coffee? It's amazing. Okay, so hold on a second, Brandon. This is the second or third time. What? I don't understand. But is that like a pour over? Yeah, they do have some good beans. Their espresso sucks, let's be honest. Um, it was a great review, but yeah. Do I use an air fryer? I have a convection oven, which is basically one giant air fryer to a degree. Obviously, air fryers are miniaturized convection ovens, and the advantage is the less space, so more concentrated, so you get that air fry kind of style. But let's just all be honest with each other and call a spade a spade. An air fryer is a mini convection oven, and prove me wrong. I've bought them, tried them, and just realized it's like me with action cameras. They just don't fit. Um, People had needed to use the bathroom after drinking the olive oil Starbucks when they first released it last year. Note to self: don't have one before getting on an airplane. Makes sense? All right. David, are you referring to the Breville as a great review? But what is it that's like, drawing you to that? I know, Brandon, but you said there's some great coffee places there. I'm not judging you, just a little, because I think you're so hardcore. Um, Sully's asking the question, why do I think film has made a comeback? Because there's something about an analog process that is appealing to us in the immediacy of everything age that we're in. That wasn't even English, but it's just an everything instant gratification. And I think it's partially the reason that myself and other people likes to listen to vinyl. There's a nostalgia if you're a certain age in it, but there's also an experience that's very different than if you're listening to Spotify or Apple Music or something like that. The idea of putting it's not an idea. If you put an album on vinyl, you tend to listen to a whole side of music, and usually that whole side of music was intended to be laid out by the artist and or producer combination as a listening experience, especially concept albums, and that's a whole different thing. But that said, there's also um, huge benefits to Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, where there's a discovery component of finding music that is different. And to go back to your question, when you shoot on film, it's not an immediate gratification. There's a process. You think about the technical side of it. There's consequences if you don't. You think about the craft side of it, especially sort of how you're approaching composition and what you're doing and sort of what you're trying to do. And there's probably more happy discoveries than there are in the world of digital. And I love digital, and there's huge advantages to that. So, if I were shooting a film today, I wouldn't necessarily be drawn to doing it on actual film, as opposed to shooting on a Venice 2 or an Alexa 35 or a Red Wrap VistaVision, whatever. Darren, good to have you, even late. So, oh no, listens to a side of vinyl because he doesn't want to get up. I totally get it. But there's the discoveries. Oh my, that track. I never really listened to that track or whatever it is. Um, your pet peeve is people saying they're filming when shooting a video. Yeah, I can understand that. I think that you have to give us old folk a break, because when we say that, we don't mean it from any other aspect of. It's more about the process of capturing something to tell a story. We do have a Stumptown Roasters in Portland. That's a place I need to visit. Okay, I got it. Okay, let's see what we got. So I'm okay with that, Ono, but I'm just saying it's hard sometimes. It's hard. intuitive cooking elements that adjust according to what you're cooking called Element IQ. The reviews were great for it. Wow. That just tells me absolutely nothing. But it sounds really good in terms of copy. That's why I miss the old movie renting places where it seems I would always find something new to watch. I love, we have the last remaining blockbuster in Bend, Oregon. A friend of mine was actually a big part of making that film that's on Netflix. And now I was actually going to go shoot a couple of interviews for that, but it just timing wise didn't work out. So that would have been fun to work on. I agree with you on that. Stumptown 6th and Ash was the first stop I had a truly significant coffee back in. Oh, so this is like a game changer for you. This is not just I'm in Portland and I have to try it. So there we go. Wow. That's big news. Okay. Ben McKnights says, we're getting near the end here, kids. Oh, a real world issue on the shoot the other day. FS7, great camera, and FX3, 4K shoot, wanted to use 35 millimeter prime on the FX3 inside a car. We can shoot this shot in HD, which is a bit of a compromise. Yeah, it's definitely a compromise, Ben. But it's a better cinema camera than the A7C2 that I have here. Yeah. What? All right. Now we're talking about all kinds of stuff. Oh, it defrosts? That's good. Yeah, I don't really love defrosting things in the microwave. I think it's kind of funky. I tried a little trick. I love potatoes, but those little potatoes sometimes I just want to boil a potato like just past al dente, eat those on like a salad or something. You can't really do that. You can kind of get there ish with a microwave, but it doesn't really work because it's cooking from the inside, blah, blah, blah. It's just not the same. Okay, now we're in a coffee thing. Last 3 minutes of the live stream. What else do we have, kids, that we want to talk about? What else do you want to get out of your system before next week? I'm going to finish this episode and I'm going to send an email to Caleb and to Ben about Camera Flask next week. Haven't heard from them in a little while. Make sure they're both on board and then I'll post it. That will be at the regular bat time of 3 p.m. Pacific, first Wednesday of the month, and we should be fine. You can super fine tune bread toast. I think we should now have a new thing where we call it bread toast from now on, because some people say, do you want toast, and they hold up the the toast bread thing, so we'll just call it bread toast from now on, unless that's a thing. NAB predictions, not 2 minutes into the end of this thing. I don't have any predictions yet, except for there's definitely going to be new gear. I know that. I have heard that Jeremy is back as CEO of Adamus, Colin, and in fact, I had about a 45-minute meeting with him last week to kind of catch up, and I've known Jeremy for a while, so we'll see how that all goes. And he definitely was the visionary at the company, and he's definitely the one who was driving where they were going back in the day. So I'm hoping that starts to happen, and there's more focus with Atomos based on my conversation with him. I think it will. Yeah, tuning your toast. Sorry. Oh no, tuning your bread toast is in all caps monumental. Don't forget. Sully, thank you for coming. Thanks for all the questions, everybody. It's been a pleasure. I am going to, before I forget, and I end this thing, I'm laughing, Colin. I'm glad that you support the Aussies across the boards over there. Yes, oh no. We'll leave with Lava Toast. I'm going to go email Ben and Lava Cats himself, and everybody all the best. Have a great rest of the week. Have a great weekend. Hopefully, I'll see most of you next week, and stay tuned. And there we go. All right. All the best, everybody. Take care.